Hello, and welcome to the weekly show at home. I'm Nick Mercer, excited that you are here with us today. As you can see, we're running out of things to do a little bit, so here we go. Background change, mountains, river, beach, fireplace. Let's go back to beach. I like the beach. It's summery now. Let's stay at the beach for a little bit. All right, got a couple things to run through before we get to our first segment. First up, missions trips are not happening this summer. You knew that already. Just a reminder as we get into a time where normally we'd be ramping up and getting ready to go on some of these missions trips, that sadly, that is not going to be able to happen because of the pandemic. Second, the building is closed until further notice. We're working on trying to get back in on Sunday mornings, not for student services, but just for a service in general. So we'll let you know as we get closer to that being a reality. But as of right now, the building is still closed, which means 3, we are still doing digital things like this, like the weekly show, like the living room, like stuff on Instagram, Facebook, podcasts, all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't been checking those out, this is our new reality for at least a little bit longer. So please, we would love for you to stay connected. Check any of those things out. We're everywhere, so find us. But speaking of digital things, let's get into our first segment tonight, which is a new one for us. You might recognize it from somewhere else that we took it from, but here we go. For the first time ever on the weekly show, True Confessions.
Welcome to our newest segment that we stole straight from Jimmy Fallon himself, True Confessions, where we each have one statement written down that's true and one that's false, and we're going to have to pick a number. We'll go around the circle, and we'll each read one of those statements, and then we'll have a minute to decide whether that is true or whether that is false. And so we're going to go in the order on the screen that is my screen that I'm looking at. So I will pick a number for wall drop, and then we'll get going. So wall drop, the number I picked for you is, please read statement number 2.
All right, statement number 2. One time I was on a train in France, and I had got my ticket at the little ticket kiosk, but I had failed to get my ticket validated. So at the next stop, I got kicked off the train by the police and spent some time in handcuffs. True or false?
Ooh, okay. Let's put a minute on the clock. Go. Okay, Alana, what do you think? True or false?
Were you by yourself?
No, I was traveling with my family.
Okay, that checks out. He would do that. He would travel with his family. That makes sense.
They also get handcuffed.
They did, yeah. All 3 of
So
us.
all 3 of you
Okay.
failed to get, I've never been on a train in France, so I can't
Right.
confirm through my own stories.
Either had we. Apparently, there's a separate machine besides the machine that you buy tickets at that you have to get them punched in order for it to count to prevent fraudulent tickets. But we didn't know that. There's no sign, at least not in English.
I've only been in the airport in France, but based off of that limited experience, the inefficiencies in that system seem to check out. Okay, any other questions?
How did you get out of the handcuffs? Like, what happened?
That's a great question.
They realized we were stupid Americans, and we got a nicer person than the guy who kicked us off the train.
Interesting. Okay, that is a minute. That's a minute. Okay, so what do you think, Alana? Did we after?
I think it's true. I think it's
true. I'm gonna go false. I don't think Luke's ever been to France. I'm going false.
Okay. It is false, but I have been to France. I have ridden a train, and I did fail to get my ticket validated, but we did not get kicked off the train. Managed to talk our ways out of the situation before we got kicked off
So
the train.
Wow. Really threw me off.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
That's crazy. I would just assume that you were making up all of it.
No.
So right answer, wrong reasons.
Right answer, wrong reason.
There you go. All right.
But
Luke,
also, life pro tip, if you're ever traveling in Europe, make sure you get your train tickets validated in addition to having them. This is my advice for everyone.
There you go. Now you know.
No,
all right.
Or you know.
Luke, pick a number for Alana.
All right, Alana, I'm picking a number between 1 and 2, and it is number 1.
Number 1. Okay. The worst prank that I have ever pulled was on the wrong house in college.
Okay. We have a minute. Ready, go. Okay.
What was the prank?
Yeah.
They had pranked us, and so we had taken a cake and we mashed up bugs and snails from outside, put it into the cake, baked it, iced it, sprinkles, dropped it off with a nice little note, and people ate it.
What kind of cake was it?
It was just like a vanilla cake with, I think it was white icing. We just put sprinkles on it, and we snuck it in there. Yep.
What was the prank that they did to y'all that you were retaliating for?
We had baked them cookies, and they returned the plate with a dead rat wrapped up on it.
What? Are you guys in a movie? Like, what is going on? Dead rat. Oh, man. What was the dead rat wrapped up in?
It was in tin foil, and then it was wrapped with, it was like in a box. So we thought it was just a nice little gift on the porch.
Gosh, okay. So you had a rat
people
delivered.
Cookies, and they returned with a rat, so you returned with snails.
That's a minute. Okay, Luke.
I think it's. I think it's false because I don't believe in the unprovoked hostility from the people that they baked cookies for.
Okay. I'm torn because there's a lot of good detail.
There was a lot of good detail. The tinfoil was a good detail in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm gonna say false because I think if you were gonna hide snails and bugs and stuff in a cake, you wouldn't pick vanilla cake. You'd pick chocolate. It's dark. It would hide it better. So that's why I'm doing that. Okay, so 2 falses. Alana, is it true or false?
It is true.
Whoa.
It was the only cake I had in the house, and it was very last minute. So.
Hold up. So you're telling me you gave some nice people cookies, and they gave you a dead rat in return?
Well, okay, so yes, they were pranking us, but they told us that it was this other house that pranked us. So we gave this cake to the wrong house, and they ate it. They ate this, they bit into it, and they like ate a snail, and there was like dead like crickets and stuff. It was the worst smell I've ever smelled.
So now you were in like a prank war with 2 different houses?
Oh.
Yeah. We felt so bad.
Oh my gosh.
They never trusted us again. Our cookies were amazing, but
nor should they have. Oh my gosh.
That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Don't prank Alana. It's the moral of that story.
Alana has no rules.
I know. All right, Alana, pick 1 or 2 for me. I'll go last here.
Okay, I'm gonna go with number 2.
Okay. All right, number 2. Here we go. All right. Ellen DeGeneres once saved my life. Minute on the clock for you guys, and go.
What were you doing that you need saving from?
I was at Universal Studios, and I was in line to go on the Hulk roller coaster, and I hate roller coasters. And so we were in line for like an hour. I had drawn like the short straw, and she actually came in to film something, so I didn't have to go on the roller coaster. So Save My Life is a little hyperbolic, but it sounds better than stop me from going on a roller coaster, you know?
Who is she with?
Who is Ellen with?
Yeah.
I don't know, her film crew.
What was she
she was filming a segment for her TV show, the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Maybe you've heard of it. And she was doing something. It was a new roller coaster that had just opened, the Hulk, Incredible Hulk, and she was doing something on it. I want to say she filmed with like Beyonce, but I'm not. Don't hold me to that. I'm not 100% sure. That's a minute.
Who were you drawing straws with?
Huh?
Your brothers? Were you drawing straws with your brothers?
Yeah, because no one in my family but one of my one brother likes roller coasters, so we all have to someone has to suck it up and go with him sometimes. But yeah, that's a minute. That's a minute. No more questions. No more questions.
This is one of those. This is outlandish, but it seems really plausible when I break it down. Like, you have been to Universal, you like Universal, you don't like roller coasters, or at least you don't like skiing, which I feel like is similar.
I know you hate roller coasters, and I don't think you would even get in line. I don't think you'd even draw straws. You'd be like, heck no.
Nah.
You just send Parker on there.
Nick plays a lot of what are the odds. He's willing to commit for the bit.
I think Ellen DeGeneres was there when you guys were there, but I don't think you're in line to get in the roller coaster.
Okay, so you're saying I'm false.
I'm going to go true.
False.
It seems just true. Wild enough to be accurate.
The answer is true. It is true.
Really?
We were at Universal Studios. This is probably like 2011-ish. and the Hulk roller coaster had just come off. And normally my dad is the one who sucks it up and goes with Parker on roller coasters. But he said, no chance, too aggressive. I lost. I think we played rock, paper, scissors. We stood in line for like an hour and a half. And then we were probably like 20 people back from the front. And they came out and said they're shutting it down for 4 hours. Ellen's coming to film something for her show. And from that day on, I say that Ellen DeGeneres has saved my life because I was not excited at all. But I hate roller coasters so much.
That's so rude, though. How did they not tell you ahead of time? Like, oh,
Yeah,
4 hours. Get out of line.
It's almost like she just showed up and was like, shut it down. I'm Ellen. And they did. But I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. Who knows?
Did you guys ever get to ride it after that?
No, we left that part of the park, and then I never went back. I decided that was fate. It was a sign that I was never meant to ride that roller coaster.
Ellen DeGeneres, the patron saint of not riding roller coasters.
Oh.
Ellen DeGeneres saved my life. Well, there you go. True Confessions with Alana and Luke. This has been fun. Thanks.
Thanks, Waldrop and Alana, for doing a little True Confessions there. That was a lot of fun for us. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Quick update before we close out the video here. We've been doing trivia on Fridays in the afternoons. We're going to be taking a break from trivia just to reevaluate topics and times and days of the week and all that kinds of stuff. So again, check our Instagram for polls concerning trivia and what the best way to move forward with that will be. It's Instagram at WCC_SM. And we'll be hopefully picking that up in maybe a more semi-live environment as the summer goes on. Again, we'll let you know if anything changes, but for right now, that's that. And because I'm sure that because I didn't say anything about the background, Waldrop had just put the regular weekly show background up. As we head into our talk for the night, let's get moody. Let's get a little dark, a little edgy, a little mysterious. Let's get like a foggy forest of wisdom behind me as we head into our final thing for the night. And finally tonight, small groups. This past week at Living Room, we got to hear from Landon, who is a pastor at Crosswalk Church, and he spoke from James chapter 3. We're moving on with our James series. And his big idea was focusing on life language, focusing on the idea that we often underestimate the power of our words, and that leads us to being reckless or destructive with our words, our language, and that we needed to shift our language to one that brings life and joy into people's lives, not destruction. And he spoke from James 3, and he gave these three big concepts of shifting that we need to focus on. I'm not going to reiterate his entire talk, but one of the things that really stood out to me in James 3 is from verse 5, the second half of verse 5. It just says, James writes, "How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire." And he's talking about, it's in the midst of talking about the tongue and how powerful our words can be. And it actually reminded me of a time, I've told this story a few years ago, but once I was a part of a group of friends and we were, shooting off some fireworks maybe, and we accidentally set a field on fire from one spark from a firework gone wrong, actually burned hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards of this field. And I had some pictures that you can kind of see the perspective of, and one of the ones, you can see my Jeep parked way far away and how small, and that's like the beginning of the burn. You can see how far away I was from the end of the burn. And it was just such a great image to me of just how one small spark can set such a big, huge area ablaze and just burn it to the ground. And how great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire, James writes. And one small spark can burn down hundreds of yards of a field. James is saying that the tongue is even more powerful of that. Our words can do so much more destruction than that fire did in that field. With the power that we have, we so often do not nearly think about this enough. And I wanted to echo Landon's talk from the living room, challenge us to take a moment, just a moment every day. It can be the first thing you do when you wake up or the last thing you do before you go to bed, and just consider the words that you say. It's so much easier in this day and age to say things online than things that we would never say in person, to people who on Twitter, in the YouTube comments, or in people's Instagrams, like just saying all kinds of outrageous things that you would never say to someone if you were face to face with them. And I fear that as our whole lives seem to be almost exclusively online right now, my fear is that we're going to slip even farther into that divide between reality and the virtual, becoming the new normal, right? It's going to be just the new normal to say outrageous things online, and maybe even that starts to be moving into saying outrageous and hurtful things in person. So I just encourage us to take a moment each day to consider shifting the language that we're using in all circumstances, not just online, but to your families, to your friends, to the people that you interact with that you don't even know, and move it from language that's like a fire burning down a forest, destructive and unable to be taken back, to a language that is focused on bringing joy and life and truth to the people around you. That's all I have today for the weekly show at home. I'm Nick Mercer. We hope to see you here next week. Don't forget, if you haven't, check out Landon's talk from the living room. It is a good one. You can watch it here on YouTube or on the Wake Up Williamsburg, the podcast feed, as we put all of the living room talks there each and every week. If you want to listen to it while you're doing it on a walk or bike ride, whatever, take it with you as you go. It's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That's all I have for you. See you next time. Peace.